Fire tonight! It's time to go back to the eshop dumpster, where I find a cheap game to see if it's worth the small price I paid for it. This is the second time that I've dove inside the dumpster this year, and anything has to be better than the garbage fire known as Sabec published baseball. Now I'm going to talk about the whole game, so there will be spoilers in this review. I really don't have a choice. It's a 1-hour title, and I need to talk about some of the late game events. Now I believe the story takes place in the 80s. I don't think they actually confirm that, but the characters use cassette tapes and are talking about the future and CDs, so I think it's a safe bet. The story is about Maya and Devin, a couple who are talking on the phone when all of a sudden the line goes dead. Maya decides to investigate and finds a fire all around her. She tries to find a payphone to call Devin. And kids out there, a payphone is like a cell phone connected to a box, which you put money into to make a call. She somehow finds 3 of them in a short distance. And even in the 80s, this is a bit ridiculous. Funny enough, she doesn't actually find another payphone in the rest of her journey. Like this was Payphone Central, and everyone comes here to make calls. But she sure does find a lot of shoes hanging out power lines, because she comments on everyone she finds. She will have to maneuver around the fires to get to her boyfriend's house, often finding random keys in odd places, and somehow always finding the key for the thing that is stopping her. Now the camera was free to move, and you're going to need to change the angles in order to find different things in the environment that she's exploring. Now you might be wondering, what is her boyfriend doing at this time? He decides to cook and watch movies while she's on this adventure. These sections use a mouse pointer, and it actually feels pointless. Why not give him his own adventure where he has to meet her somewhere? His sections would normally just click on everything and his section is over. A cutscene would have been more appropriate for this. As she goes deeper into the journey, she finds the fire is getting worse, but people don't seem to care. They'll just stand around while the fire is all around them, and they'll even joke around. There isn't a firefighter in sight, just the police stopping you by basically guarding the fire. You would think the police would all be dead, just waiting around, shining their flashlights in the thick of a huge fire. Until you realize this fire isn't real. She can walk into it and nothing will happen. And later on, she can make it disappear with the power of music. She can have some of the fire disappear if she turns on her Walkman. Unfortunately, her Walkman has a terrible battery life, and I'm talking about a few seconds. Luckily for her, every trash can has a battery refill for her Walkman. So why drain the battery so quickly if you just can easily refill it? Now let me make this clear. I don't think the game intends us to make us think that Maya is crazy by envisioning fire all around her, but what else can I conclude? No one else seems to care about this raging fire. For the most part, the transit system is running without issue. At one point it does say it stops running because of the fire, but what if that was all in her head? What if there is no boyfriend? What if everything is just a delusion? It would make the ending sequence make much more sense. There's a point where she's roller skating on a busy road where there is no police in sight and just dodging cars and being a nuisance to the traffic. It's supposed to show that she's desperate to get to her boyfriend, but it makes her look like an asshole. There's a point where the boyfriend in the story finally decides to leave his house and find her. So you might think they just miss each other and he's gonna have his own adventure in the fire. But no! They find each other instantly. But then he falls into a boat and you have to lower the water to open gates to get to him. Why does this town have a river gate system that you have to change the water levels like the Panama Canal? This seems so excessive and pointless. This river wasn't an issue in any other part of the game. This just seems so random from the rest of the title. When they do reconnect and she gets in the boat, they float off into the ocean and watch the non-existent fire in the distance, and the game is over. Now the puzzles were easy enough to do, and the levels were enjoyable enough to go through. I did like how you have to change perspectives to see the whole world. Now it wasn't always clear what you needed to do, but the levels were small enough to not make it too hard to figure it out. Now like I mentioned, the levels were never too long, but you can't die. If you get caught by the police or you go somewhere you shouldn't, the game just rewinds and loads a checkpoint. So this is not a difficult game. Fire Tonight was okay. As a puzzle game, it was simple, but I think it was more interested in telling a story than making a challenging puzzle game. It was actually pretty funny at times, and since it was such a quick game, it didn't overstay its welcome. Now this was normally $5.99, and I picked it up for $1.99, and I think that's just about the right price. I liked the characters in this, and it had some really well-made cutscenes, but replayability is basically zero. It will keep you entertained the small amount of time that you play it, but if you're going to pick it up, I would definitely wait for a deep sale.